So guys, this is just for your consent that I have started recording of this session. I'll be sharing this recording with each one of you. Right, guys? So let's begin with it. So yesterday we were talking about what is cloud computing and what are the advantage of it, why do we use it, the type of cloud computing. So guys, first of all, I would like to ask if you have any questions so far. Yes, guys, any questions so far? Ajit, any question?
No, nothing.
Love Kumar Rathi, any question? Shravani, any question?
No, sir.
Okay, great. Okay, guys, just a minute. I'm getting a call. We are continuing in 2 minutes. Yes, guys. So let us begin. So guys, today what we are going to discuss here is the very first thing which we are going to discuss is that what is EC2 machine. Today this section we are going to complete, right, end to end. And if you have any question in between, then you are always free to ask. So guys, let us launch. So guys, what is EC2 machine? And what is the meaning of EC2?
Elastic cloud computing.
Okay. And what is it?
You can launch the server.
Okay. So before starting about EC2 machine, I would love to explain a couple of things. Like before this particular, what sort of things we used to have. Okay. So guys, whenever we talk about infrastructure, right? So infrastructure contains a couple of things which we should know. First of all, if we talk about traditional stuff, like what used to happen earlier. So there were sort of physical server. Initially, when people started working with IT, so people started working with physical servers. There used to be boxes. These used to consist of some sort of RAM, hard disk, network interface card, and there were some slots available to attach multiple hard disk devices on that. Later on, when the technology evolved, so after that, people started working with virtualization. What is virtualization? The particular mechanism using which what we can do here is we can launch multiple operating systems on a single physical hardware. So this is unlike dual booting an operating system. Like you might have seen that people used to do dual boot operating system, that at a moment one person was able to install two operating systems in the same hardware, maybe laptop, desktop, or whatever it is. So they were able to install two different operating systems in the same hardware, but the condition there was at a moment only one could be used. Either it is Linux or it is Windows. Only one operating system could be used at a time. Gradually, there was a requirement that people wanted to have such a mechanism available where they could use multiple operating systems in parallel. For example, there is a person doing some sort of practicals where Windows and Linux are required at the same time. But the challenge there was that the person either could use Windows or could use Linux operating system at a time. That's why they started using VMware. So guys, what is VMware? VMware is a particular software which is used as a hypervisor. Hypervisor is especially a software We will discuss about it in detail in coming time. Hypervisor is software that is basically used to launch multiple instances or multiple operating systems in parallel. For example, a person is trying to perform some practical related to Samba. So there is a particular software known as Samba. For example, if you have to share a particular drive between Linux and Windows operating system, if a person has to perform any practical related to Samba, then person would be needing two different operating systems at the same time. One operating system will be related to Windows and another operating system will be related to Linux operating system. Right, guys? So if this was the case, if this was the scenario, then virtualization was the particular software or the particular technology which was used to run multiple parallel software on the same hardware drive. For example, there was only one laptop available with a user and user was trying to launch multiple operating systems. So with the help of virtualization, a person was able to do. And these sort of virtual operating systems were known as VM. Like you can call that virtual machine. Right, guys? And these virtual machines in AWS are known as EC2. So either you can call that a particular machine, you can call that instance, or you can call that EC2. So whatever we call, guys, why I'm writing these things, because whenever we are talking about all these components, so we should not be having any sort of confusion. Because sometimes even I'm into habit of, like sometime I can call it, let's create a VM like virtual machine. Sometime I can call, okay, let us create like in an instance or maybe even EC2 machine. So whatever we are calling, end of the day, we are going to create a particular virtual machine on a physical server with the help of some virtualization software. And if we have to give some names to this software, so either we can call it VMware, we can call it Zen, we can call it KVM or Citrix. Right. So these sort of software we can definitely give a name. And after that, in today's modern world, in today's scenario, people have further evolved and they have started using some sort of containers. So containers, it could be Linux container, it could be Docker container, right? So these sort of software. So in a nutshell, if you have to say like what are the particular platforms have you worked with? First of all, you can call that physical server. You can call that virtual machine, or you can call that container. So names could be different. Physical server, it could be related to Dell, it could be related to IBM, HP, or any other one. Virtual machine could be, which is created on your, you can give it a name like VMware, Zen, KVM, or Citrix. These sort of softwares are there. And container, so it could be Linux container or Docker container, right, guys? So these sort of softwares are there. Yes, guys. So I hope that we are clear with this, what we are going to do right now. So we are going to create a particular virtual machine on the top of some physical server. And these are the particular scenarios. Now, when we create, so we need to understand the particular environments as well. This is all about the particular server side. Now, if we talk about environment, so guys, there are different environments. Sometimes what usually people say that we do not have exposure to production environment. So when we call it production environment, so what different environments are there? Let us discuss about that part as well. The very first environment, which is known as like lower environment, that is known as dev. Or we can call that development environment. Right, guys? After that, when people start complete the particular software developers complete their development, then after they send the particular code to QA environment, which is known as quality assurance environment. Once that is done, so they will be creating a particular environment known as SIT. SIT stands for System Integration Test. Then after, the particular next environment is known as UAT. And guys, UAT stands for User Acceptance Test. UAT environment. Then after, it will be known as pre-prod. right? Finally, the environment will be known as prod. I hope that most of us already know about these environments. Those guys who are new to this particular field, they should be knowing about it. That what are the different environment have you worked with, right? This environment, like there could be different nomenclature, like it could be known as alpha, it could be known as beta, this could be known as gamma, it could be known as delta. Right? This is pre-prod and this is finally prod. So like you can call it like alpha, beta, gamma, delta, like development, UAT, like UA, SIT, UAT, pre-prod and prod. So these are some different environments. Now a person might ask, okay, what is the difference between these environments? Right, guys? So if we have to explain that why do we use these different environments here? So that's the thing which I'm going to explain you guys right away. So guys, we need to understand this thing. For example, within any environment, it could be your dev, it could be your prod or whatever. So what sort of services do we have? Like we will have a particular service here, which is known as web server. Then after web server, we will have some sort of application server here. Very like you can call it 20,000 feet overview we are discussing right now. But we will discuss in detail as well. This will be known as app server, second component, third one will be database. Like DB server. So guys, these are the particular servers which we have in an environment. Now, if someone is going to ask you what is different between all these three environments, so guys, the difference here is maybe development environment may have the particular lower size of configuration. Let us say in production we have 16 CPU and 24 GB of RAM, or maybe like 32, 64 GB of RAM. In dev environment, we might have only 4 CPU and 8 GB of RAM. Same thing goes with beta, SIT. So guys, keep this thing in mind. Most of time, it is recommended that whatever configuration you are going to have in production environment, same configuration you need to have here in SIT, or you can call that gamma environment. And guys, why is that so? When we call it SIT, like system integration test, over here we have to perform like performance test. So guys, we have to perform performance testing in this particular environment. This is a lower environment, not production, but yes, this is going to be sort of production environment. Over here, we will be guys, please mute yourself if you are not speaking. That will be helpful. So guys, when we are talking about SIT or gamma environment, so what does it mean? It means that we are going to perform the sanity for the application performance. For example, we need to identify that if we deploy a microservice within production environment, then how much load will it be able to handle? The very first thing, how much load will it be able to handle? So before selecting the instance step into a production environment, we have to perform the testing in SIT. Let us say, what would be the scenarios here, guys? Let me tell you that part as well. For example, we were running, let us say Java 8. Java 1.8 we were using. Right now, developer decided to run Java, let us say 1.17 or maybe let us say 1.13. So when we are upgrading any software version, so how is that going to perform? Whether the performance will be enhanced or that is going to reduce the performance. For example, any service which was like responding within 10 milliseconds, so that is either going to take 20 or either it is going to take 5, maybe 8 or 12, whatever. So in order to compare the particular response time of existing and the particular newly deployed software, we have to have the like same operating system, same hardware type. Let us say if we have like 16 CPU and 24 GB of RAM, or maybe 16 CPU, 48 GB of RAM, whatever. So same environment we need to have here. Yes, production environment may have, let us say 20 machines. Over here we will have only 2, 3, 4, 5 based on the requirement. And over there, we will have a particular calculation that one machine is able to handle. Machine in the sense, virtual machine we are talking about. That's why I have already given you a particular reference that we can call it virtual machine, a machine, instance, EC2, whatever. Right? So we will have to understand that how much one machine will be able to handle. If let us say 20 hits per second are coming, maybe like 2000 hits per second are coming, then how many machines will be required? Moreover, how much CPU and RAM will be utilized there. So based on this particular like performance testing environment outcome, we will decide the particular size of instances, the particular size of machine within production environment. Are we clear with that, guys?
Sir, all servers have same IP address in UAT, pre-prod and prod, or different IP addresses?
Okay, this is really nice question. So let me tell you, first of all, what happens when we will discuss about infrastructure architecture. So then we are going to discuss this part, but like for higher understanding, like high level understanding, what I'm going to do, like we will have a separate VPC for dev. We will have a separate VPC. Another VPC we will have for, let us say, UAT or QA, or maybe we will have a separate VPC for, let us say, for UAT, or maybe for SIT, right? So either within same AWS account, we might have different VPCs for these different services, or what we can do here is we can define different subnets within same VPC. And very important thing here is what we need to understand in order to identify like how do we work in real production environment, guys. So there is a particular term known as organization, which is known as AWS Organization. We will discuss about in detail. That is part of our curriculum. AWS Organization. So first of all, we will create a parent account like this. Under this particular parent account, we are going to have couple of other accounts here, and these accounts will be known as, first of all, one account will be for non-prod, and second account we will create for prod environment. So we will have like 3 AWS account. One account will be known as like master account. This account will be for non-prod, for example, dev, UAT, SIT, or maybe you can call that alpha, beta, gamma, delta. And this will be known as for prod environment. So we ideally, one organization needs to have 3 different accounts. Why it is so? Let us say, if this account is compromised, then this will be safe. If this account is compromised, this will be safe. If this account is compromised, these 2 different accounts are going to be safe. Are we clear with that, guys? So at least 3 different AWS accounts we need to have in order to perform like these operations in a production environment securely. Are we clear with that, guys?
No, sir. Can you please repeat?
Okay, so guys, whenever we are working with production environment, so there are different requirements. And what are, okay, guys, is there anyone who can explain this? Anyone who has any idea about it? Ajit, would you please try to explain this? Okay, so let us say if there is a requirement, let me give you a scenario. If there is a requirement that we need to set up our infrastructure in secure way, how will you do it?
Secure way, create the NAT gateway.
Okay.
Private IP addresses.
Okay. Anything else?
We need to create the private cloud, and then under that we can create a NAT and all the network related things.
Okay. So let us leave this here because
we have to
before that
create a separate VPC.
Yes, you are right. You are right. Now you are on the right track. So we need to have like separate VPCs. We need to have like separate route table for this. But before that, we need to understand the concept of VPC. What I was trying to explain you here is that whenever you are going to face an interview, the particular interviewer might ask you that what sort of environment have you worked with? So whether it was a physical server environment, it was a virtualization environment, or it was a containerized environment, right? Like physical server, virtual machine, or container. And what are the different type of environment do you have? So environment are like the development environment, QA, SIT, UAT, pre-prod and prod environment. Right? What sort of server do we have? Web server, application, or database server? This is like very, very high level overview, which we are discussing right now. Okay, guys. So now what we are going to do here is we are going to talk about EC2 machine, like how do we create and why do we create? So guys, I guess right now we are very, very clear that what is EC2 machine.
Yes.
Okay. So is there anyone who knows how to create EC2 machine?
Yes, I know.
Okay. Please keep on telling me how to create. And the particular best possible way here is whatever options you would like me to explore, please do it.
Sure. So first of all, we have to select any free tier eligible AMI.
Okay, so have you
Okay.
logged in with your laptop or desktop?
Currently, I am logged in with my mobile phone.
Okay, great. Not a problem. Then please go ahead.
So first we have to select a free tier, my AMI.
Okay, I have selected it.
Okay.
So while selecting AMI, do I need to consider any other factor as well?
So AMI is basically the, operating system which we will be installing in the hardware,
Okay.
server. So that,
Then what?
then we have to select the family type of the instances. So currently T2 micro is the one which is available for free tier. So we'll be going with this.
Okay.
Now we have to keep these things default since we haven't learned about.
Let me ask you a question.
Sure.
Is there any other instance available which comes under free tier?
Yeah, we can go back and one more back. So here you can select free tier only on the left side column. So now on the right side, you will get all the list of free tier, AMIs.
No, I'm talking about hardware template, like T2 micro.
Yeah, you can go there in the next step and you can see if you have any option available over there. I don't think there is any. T2 micro is the only one which
We do have T3 micro as well.
No, T3 micro does not come under free tier.
maybe we can go with the .64-bit ARM and then see.
T4G.micro, this also comes under free tier.
But it is not mentioned here that it is available in free tier.
It is not mentioned, but yes, it comes under free tier.
Okay.
Okay, so we are moving ahead with this particular only. So let me explain these things. So guys, not only this free tier, we need to check. We need to check a couple of other options as well here. First of all, whatever image we are going to select, first of all, we need to read the description of it. Why it is so? That what Linux flavor we are going to opt, that is going to be Amazon Linux 2. Right, guys? Then HVM, what type of virtualization we are going to select. Then after, what is the kernel version which we are going to get after launching this particular operating system. The volume type, the EBS volume, elastic block storage volume we are going to get. Now when it comes, if it is like SSD, then what other type of volumes are there? We are going to discuss about, let us see. See, first of all, we have EBS, second one, we have instance store. So guys, there is an interview question. What is the difference between instance store and EBS volume?
Basically, instance store are not persistent. They are temporary volumes which get destroyed when you stop your instance or shut down your instance. Whereas in case of EBS, if you stop your instance, the volume persists and you can then power on the instance, and you will get the same volume.
Okay. And what are the use case of it?
Use case, you can make use of, this instance stores wherein the data is not that much critical.
Like some testing purpose you can do.
Yes, you are right. So basically, instance store type instances are supposed to be used only for testing purpose, because whenever we are working in any environment, be it is development, be it is your UAT, QA, SIT, or whatever, then we always want to have data persistent. Now, what other things we can see here is, so guys, there is a particular variety of operating systems. Like we have Amazon Linux, we have CentOS, and where we are seeing this under community AMIs. Right, guys? So couple of these will be free, couple of these may be paid. So that will be depending on the instance image or the particular AMI type, which we are going to see. So we have Amazon Linux, CentOS, and guys, see, people usually call it CentOS. This is known as CentOS. And what does it mean, guys, CentOS? Yes, guys, what is the meaning of CentOS?
It's open source Linux.
Basically, Linux is always open source. So this is known as C stands for community, E and D stands for enterprise, OS for operating system, community enterprise operating system. This works in parallel with Red Hat. The major difference here is all the packages are supported same, but the only difference here is if you select Red Hat, then you can opt for some sort of support. You can opt for some sort of support from Red Hat side. Maybe you can opt for enterprise support from Red Hat, but in case of CentOS, this is not available. That is the only difference. Otherwise, like command, file system type, like kernel compatibility, everything is going to remain same. Otherwise, like there is no support available over here, you can opt for support. Are we clear with that? So if we talk about different flavor, like we have Debian, Fedora, again, two OpenSUSE, other Linux, SUSE Linux, Ubuntu, Windows, and macOS. These are the particular operating systems which are available on AWS. And I guess beyond it, no one is looking for. Then after the different type of architecture, like we can have 32-bit operating system. So if you select this, and if you uncheck this option, then you will be able to see the particular Red Hat, which is coming with i386 processor type. It means the 32-bit. If it is x86, i686, so that these are 64-bit. But if we talk about i386, so this is known as 32-bit operating system. Clear with that, guys? So usually we have two type of architecture. Either it is 32-bit or 64-bit. Okay, so let us go back. So guys, these are the particular different type of AMIs which we have. For example, you are looking for any paid services. Let us say you are looking for any firewall, VPN connection, or maybe like any, what do I call that? CRM software. You are looking for backup recovery software, data analysis software, right? Migration to a tool you are looking for. Fine. So these sort of components are available. Maybe ML services, 99 products are available here. So you can purchase it from here. And whenever you are going to purchase, for example, I'm going to select this particular. Let us say I'm going to select Barracuda. So it will say that, yes, I want to change the AMI, general like Cloud Gen Firewall on AWS. Pay as you go, PYAG, pay as you go. Right, guys? So I would like to cancel it because I really do not want to open a firewall. But yes, just for your information, I'm telling you that yeah, these sort of options are available over here. Now, guys, yesterday when we have discussed this thing that there are two type of hardware type available, like two type of processors are available. It is x86 64-bit or ARM 64-bit. Right. So after launching this particular EC2 machine, we are going to complete this particular section today. But what I wanted to tell you here is, first of all, the image which you are going to select has to be under free tier eligible. The root volume type has to be EBS. Instance store should not be selected here. Virtualization type should be HVM. So guys, initially when like before a couple of years, there were two type of virtualizations available. The very first one was known as HVM. Second one was known as para virtual. So most of instance, which we have seen just before some time, like with which were associated with instance store. So those type of instances were created with the help of para virtualization. But right now these are also supported by HVM, but the volume type there is different. So whenever we are going to select any AMI, we need to understand this thing, that this particular has to be EBS if we are planning to launch this type of instances within production environment. Are we clear with that, guys?
Yes.
Like, first of all, the particular vendor, this is Red Hat, virtualization type, HVM, this should be SSD, root the EBS type, root volume type should be EBS, virtualization type should be HVM, right? Then after x86, 64-bit or ARM, 64-bit, that's the particular use case, what you would like to do. So end of the day, x86, like x86, 64-bit, these are faster and costlier. These are slower and cheaper. So that will be depending only on your requirement. But yes, if you talk about any real production environment, so guys, 99% organization prefers to use this one only. Although these are costlier, but most of softwares are available for this particular architecture only. Only a couple of softwares are available for this architecture. Are we clear with that, guys?
Yes.
So now I would like to continue with Red Hat Enterprise Linux, HVM 8. I would hit next. Now, what I'm going to do, I will select this T2 microtype. Why it is so? This is for free. For 1 calendar year, I will be using this for free. Then after, number of instances is going to be 1. Yesterday we discussed it. Purchasing options. So yes, guys, this is once again an interview question. What are the purchasing options available on AWS? Guys, is there anyone who can walk me through? Yesterday we discussed it. I would go to Uma for this.
On demand, spot, reserve.
Reserved instance and then saving time.
So we have on demand, we have spot instances. Third one, we have reserved instances. Fourth one is saving.
And what is the difference between all the use cases?
On demand is basically pay.
On demand is pay as you go.
Uma, you are sorry, Ajay, you are on mute. I don't know why.
So I'm saying on demand is pay as you go, and spot instances are you have to bid a price when suppose you have set a price like $1 or between 1 and 2, any price you set. So when the your bid is selected, then you in those instances are assigned to you. And but someone suppose some other guy places another bid which is higher than your bid, then your instances will be revoked and will be transferred to the other guy who has placed a higher bid. That is called
good.
spot instances. And then we have reserved instances in which we enter in contract like for 2 or 3 years or maybe 1 year with Amazon, wherein you can't modify the type of instance. Whereas in the last one, in this reserved instances, you basically get a discount. Then the fourth one is savings one, in which you can modify the instance type. And suppose you in the starting your contract was signed like $10, but later on you decided to move from T2 to T3. But the cost of T3 is higher than the after $10. Suppose you are supposed to pay, $14. Then for remaining $2, you will be paying as per pay as you on demand price.
Very good, fantastic, good to know that. Awesome, great, keep it up. Okay. So when we are talking about like number of instances, so how many instances we want to purchase, that we want to create, so that will be decided here. Purchasing option, Ajay has just explained. Now network. So guys, this network is isolated network segment within AWS infrastructure that is especially designed for per customer. I would not say for your account. This is designed per customer. For example, if I go and I try to check some other components here. the particular IP address series which is assigned to my account. So that could be possible. The same series may be assigned to you as well. For example, if I check here, if I go to, there is a particular component known as VPC. This is just for example, guys. Do not try to get a lot into it. We will be discussing like how to create, how to customize, what are the options available here, everything. This is just for reference. So guys, if you see, I have one VPC, 3 subnets, 1 route table, 1 internet gateway, then after 1 DHCP option set. These sort of options I have. 7 security groups I do have. Guys, keep this thing in mind. If you have your own AWS account and you try to check the options available here, then this is going to be almost same. If I click here, then 99% possibilities are there. The same IP address range will be available within your AWS account as well. So when I say this is a particular network, so this is related to some VPC, virtual private cloud. This is available within AWS per customer basis. Like whenever one customer is trying to create some resources, so same sort of network segment or network references will be allowed there. Second thing, when we call it subnet, subnet means, for example, we have a very big pool of IP address, and now we want to create some small chunk out of that particular big pool. So these segments are known as subnet. In other words, you can say subnets are usable block of IP addresses within a VPC. So let us say we do not define any subnet and we create only one CIDR, and after that we try to create resources. That will not be practically possible. So we will have to define some subnets in order to create some resources there. Moreover, you can think of one subnet equal to one data center. For example, if I talk about Mumbai, so Mumbai has these 3 availability zones, right guys? Like AP South 1C, 1A, 1B. So guys, the particular region name here is, if you see here, so the region here is AP South 1. This is the region. This is region. And these are availability zone. So guys, now there is a particular another interview question. So a person might ask you, what is the difference between region and availability zone in AWS? Guys, who will explain that?
So basically, availability zones, we have multiple availability zones in a region. Region, basically, availability zone is a part of region.
Okay.
One region will have like more than 2 availability zones.
2 or more availability zones.
Okay, great. Very good. Good to know that. So
multiple data centers is called availability zones, and group of availability zones nothing but region.
okay. So in other words, if we have to explain it, so one geographical region is known as one geographical area is known as region, and multiple data center inside that geographical area are known as availability zone. For example, in this case, Mumbai is a region, and Mumbai has 3 data centers. For example, it has in Gurgaon, it has in Bangalore and Pune, right? So Mumbai is a region and 3 different data centers are known as availability zone. And one availability zone may have multiple subnets. Subnet means the particular usable IP address chunk from the particular big pool of IP addresses which are assigned to any VPC. Are we clear with that, guys?
Yes.
Great, sounds good. Okay, now auto assign public IP address. So guys, whenever we create one EC2 machine means like that virtual machine, VM, instance, whatever you want, you can call that, right? So whenever we create one virtual machine, so that machine comes along with one private IP address for sure. It cannot happen that we may not assign even a single IP address to a machine which we are going to create. If we want to assign manually, that is practically possible. We can define if we know the particular IP address range, and we already know that how many IP addresses we have already used, and like that way, right? But when we are talking about auto assign public IP, so guys, this is completely left with us. If we want, we can assign a public IP address to one EC2 machine, or you can call that virtual machine, or you can call that instance. So it is completely left with us. If we want to assign IP address to a machine, we will assign. If we want, there is a use case, we do not want to expose that instance over internet, we will not assign. So these are the particular subnet default settings which are enabled here. Use subnet setting enable. If we want, we can do disable as well. And how do we do that, guys? And this is very, very important interview question as well. Even I love to ask this question. And the question is, whenever I create one EC2 machine, so I have to manually disable that. That I do not want to assign one public IP address with this machine, which is going to be created under this VPC and under this subnet, right? So I want this particular option to disable. How will I do it? So for disabling it, guys, because see, VPC and EC2 machines are interconnected. So we will have to go to this particular VPC. Then after we will go to this subnet section. Obviously, we will deep dive into detail as well. But for now, just for like the reference purpose, I'm telling you whatever. Yes.
Here we have to select this. Now go to Exchange, and then we have to check the option auto assign IP address.
Edit subnet
Edit.
setting.
Yes.
And check or uncheck this one. If we check it, then there will be option enabled. If we uncheck it, that option will be disabled by default.
Disable.
Right, guys? So why I'm
Yes.
telling you this? Because sometimes what happens, because there is no such option given here that we can enable or disable that automatically, or we can like make the changes permanent, right? So this option comes from VPC itself. We do not see any option here. So whenever you are going to face an interview and somebody is going to ask like, how can we modify this particular setting? Like we need this particular IP address to be disabled by default. Use subnet setting, that should be disabled. So where do we need to do that? We will go inside a VPC, and there we will go to subnet. We will go for actions and then subnet setting, and then we can check or uncheck. Then after host name type. So guys, there are two options available, either IP name or the resource name. So IP name here is the particular host name of that machine which we are going to create will be IP dash the private IP address. Rather than specifying dot, there will be dash available. For example, the IP address here is, let me define that. For example, the IP address of that machine is, let us say 10.3.9.22. This is the IP address, but in case of hostname, it will be IP dash 10 dash 3 dash like 9 dash. This will be hostname. IP address itself will be converted with the help of dash as a hostname. Are we clear with that, guys?
Yes.
Okay, great. Now, DNS hostname, I guess we have just discussed about it. Then after placement group, guys, what is this placement group? Yes, guys, any idea about it?
I think 2 or more instances, they can be placed in a group. They will share the same network or something.
Okay, Ajay?
I am not aware of it. I've read about this, but I'm not sure.
Okay, what have you read about it? See, there can be nothing more than.
I actually don't remember right now.
Not a problem. Any other one?
We can create instances in this.
Okay. What else?
Basically, we group bunch of instances under this.
Okay, let me come on to it. For example, we are going to create, we know that we have to create multiple servers. For example, we are setting up a database cluster. Let us say it is MySQL, or let us say not database, we are going to set up Redis cluster, maybe ELK, Elasticsearch, Logstash, Kibana cluster, we are going to set up. Now the requirement there is, we want that latency should not be there. Latency means whenever like one server is calling another server transfer of data is happening a lot of data volume is traveling over the network. Now what I want that the particular time should be reduced up to an extent, right guys? So whenever we provision one EC2 machine in AWS, so guys, there is no guarantee that on the same physical hardware or on the same rack or in the same cluster of virtual machine, that machine will also be provisioned. If I want to ensure that whenever I'm going to create another machine, that should be created on the same set of hardware, maybe in the same rack, maybe on the same hardware, then this sort of surety is provided from the side of Amazon, like with the help of placement group. Right, guys? So this will help you to reduce your network throughput, network latency, and obviously it will reduce network latency, and it will provide you higher throughput. Because, for example, the one cluster is working with the IBM hardware type, another cluster is working with Dell or maybe HP hardware type. But if you would like to enable capacity like placement group, so in that case, guys, what is going to happen? All the virtual machines will be running on the same physical hardware type. Clear with that?
Yes, but it will have some negative impact also, right?
Yes, it will definitely have negative impact as well. For example, if you, okay, let us say that if you have selected like placement group, and what if like you have created only 2 instances for running any service, and what if the particular main server goes down where both the machines are running, that will bring your entire infrastructure down for that particular component. So there is negative.
So the placement groups are placed in a single availability zone.
Yes.
Okay.
Then capacity reservation, if we talk about.
And once we click on this option, do we need to create placement groups?
So there are 2 options. Either you can add to existing placement group, or you can create new. If you create new, you will have to define that placement group strategy. It is going to be cluster, spread, or partition. That will be depending on like what sort of services you are planning to deploy. For example, you are going to create a cluster of services. You are going to like spread the servers across the same availability zone. That sort of, or partition. For example, you are going to install Kafka here. There will be different partition. There will be different logical partition on it. That way. Then after reservation open, that like these different options.
This placement group, do you have any use case in production you can use?
Yes, definitely we have. For example, we are running like Kafka. Kafka is a particular message queue broker. So if you are using that, so that writes a lot of data to disk. So let us say if one server is in one like availability zone 1A and another server is in 1B. Let us say there is a latency of, let us say, 10 milliseconds for each call. Whenever we ping, so at least 10 millisecond latency will be there for each call. Now what you want to have very least like latency. You want to improve it as much as possible. So what would happen in that case, guys? You will enable this placement group option, and with the help of this placement group, you will ensure that all the virtual machines which are going to be created or which are created are going to be in same availability zone and in the same network segment. Right, guys?
Yes.
Okay. Now, when we talk about capacity reservation, so guys, why do I always hover my mouse here? So because if you do not have any idea about this particular component, what is it? You can read it here. So capacity reservation reserves capacity for you for your EC2 instance in a specific availability zone. You can launch instances into a capacity reservation if they have matching attributes, instance type, platform, and availability zone, and available capacity. So what does it mean, guys? Let us say that I am running a particular auto-scaling group where instance types are C5.4x large or maybe M5.2x large or whatever. Whatever type of instances do we have, so that sort of instances are running there, right? Now, the requirement here is I want to create a new instance, but as soon as I'm trying to create, so I get a message from AWS side that no free resources are available. Resources are not available, or at the time of launching, that unable to launch new EC2 machine. That sort of error message you will start getting. Although this is rare for an existing data center, but yes, even I have seen these sort of error messages initially at the time of when AWS was setting up the particular infrastructure in Mumbai, and we used to do some practicals, right? So that way. So in case if you want that as and when you would like to launch new server with the same instance type, so they should be available for you. So if you open capacity reservation, this will be sort of RI, but for less time period. If you open it, you will have to pay for it. Right, guys? Join domain directory. What does it mean? Let us say you are going to create a virtual machine, and the operating system here is Windows, and you want that server should be part of that domain directory, that AD, which is known as Active Directory. So you can figure out here. You can like join a particular server to existing directory, or if you do not have existing, you can create new from this particular. You will refresh it, and that directory will come. That directory will start appearing here. Now, guys, what is IAM role? Guys, listen. Initial stage we were talking about AMI. Now it is IAM. Only words are different, like letters are same. AMI stands for Amazon Machine Image. IAM stands for Identity and Access Management. Now, guys, what happens if you see that currently I am going to create one EC2 machine in this particular AWS account, right? But who is going to create? I'm the person. I have credential to create new EC2 machine within any of the particular server which are available within AWS, and that will be decided by AWS, right? But what if I want? There is a particular concept of auto scaling. Like if one of my machine goes down, that should be created automatically by some other service, right, guys? So why am I able to create my EC2 machine here? Because I'm authorized person. I have complete authority to log into this AWS account, to create EC2 machine, to delete, and to perform any other operation which are related to EC2 only, right? Now, guys, what is going to happen if you want that this EC2 machine should be able to perform that sort of like operations? For example, I want to send the logs of this particular EC2 machine. For example, after creation of this machine, I am going to install some software here. Let us, I'm going to install some sort of SFTP software, web server software, maybe Samba, NFS, or maybe like any XYZ software I'm going to install. So that software will definitely generate some sort of logs. So if I want to push those logs to S3 bucket, then in that case, I will not be performing that operation, but yes, this EC2 machine which is going to be created will be performing that operation or that particular request for you. Now, what does it mean? If I want that any resource of AWS should be able to perform operation with any other resource of AWS, then we need to assign some IAM role, like Identity and Access Management role. We would like to assign to one resource to modify or to access other resource. For example, one more example I would give. Let us say there is high load running on this particular machine which I'm going to create. Let us say after 2 hours there is high load on this machine. Now, how will EC2 machine be able to communicate with CloudWatch? Because what sort of service do we use for for monitoring here? That is known as CloudWatch, right, guys? So how CloudWatch is able to read metrics of EC2 machine? Is there anyone who can answer that? How CloudWatch is able to access the metrics of EC2 machine?
Yes, by default, like all the issues we have CloudWatch metrics.
Come again.
So basically, when we create an EC2 machine, the standard CloudWatch monitoring is enabled, and it is regularly monitors our EC2 instance at every 5 minutes. If you
Okay.
click on detailed monitoring, then it will monitor every minute or second, something like that.
Is basic level of monitoring, not detailed level.
No, Ajay, wait. My question was, AWS CloudWatch is a separate component. EC2 is a separate component, right?
Yes.
So how does it become possible that AWS CloudWatch can read the metrics of EC2 and in order to notify us can send email using any SNS topic or SES topic? That is what my question is. Because we do not perform any operation there. Once it is enabled, once we set up alarm, that keeps on performing operation. So how does that become possible? So, okay, let me answer that. So guys, the answer here is IAM role. AWS CloudWatch has default rules in order to monitor every sort of infrastructure which is created within AWS. But yes, by default, that will be monitoring for every 5 minutes. Which means if I want that AWS CloudWatch should be able to reboot this machine which I'm going to create. If I want that AWS CloudWatch should be able to reboot this machine, if there is high load, the machine is in stuck state or something like. So then who will be rebooting it? The particular CloudWatch. And when a particular service can take some action or can perform some action on some other services, if IAM roles are assigned. Are we clear with that, guys?
Yes.
So when a monitoring service will be allowed to reboot one EC2 machine, that will happen with the help of IAM role. Are we clear with that, guys?
Yes.
Okay, now shutdown behavior, we discussed it about yesterday as well, that in production environment, we usually keep it as a stop. This is not supposed to be terminated, but yes, if option is there, then definitely we can use that. But in real-time use cases, we never keep it as terminate for any server, not even for dev, QA, UAT, SIT, whatever. Hibernate option we discussed yesterday as well. So is there anyone who can explain that for me?
So basically in Hibernate, the activities which are performing on the server, and so if someone wants to, we have opened some application on the server, and someone wants to just hibernate the machine, then the work which we were doing will be copied into the RAM, and when we just click on the power on button, then we will be able to. Those things won't take any much time. It is same like just the option available in our laptops. We have a Hibernate option. All the open applications remain. Opens the same way.
Okay, so let me throw some more light on this. So when we want these sort of options to be enabled, guys, listen to me very carefully. There are a couple of applications which are of different type, such as if we are using like MySQL, if we are using Elasticsearch, we are using Redis, we are using Kafka, or some like that way. So there are a couple of applications which holds the data into RAM. These are known as memory intensive applications. These consumes a lot of memory in order to process the particular data very fast. So guys, what is going to happen? Let us say we are using a particular service which is known as Elasticsearch. So Elasticsearch holds the data into memory, and now I have to take that particular reboot to that server, but I do not want to lose the data. The data which is available on RAM, let us say it is 2 terabytes. I do not want to lose the data. Then what would happen in that case, guys? So in that case, before stopping or before getting stopped, the particular operating system with the help of kernel will write the data to some device. And that device is known as root volume, which we are going to see over here. Add storage, next section. So the particular amount of that particular RAM, or you can call that the particular data which is available on that RAM, will be copied where? Onto a particular disk that is associated with the same server, and that has to be root volume. Moreover, that has to be like root. Okay, let us read this. Root volume storage instance memory, right? Like what is known as RAM. So whenever we are talking about that, we need to perform these operations, which means we need to have sufficient space available on the root volume. Moreover, that should be supporting encryption as well. If the particular volume is not encrypted, this option will not work. I guess, guys, we discussed this particular thing yesterday as well. But yes, once again, I wanted to throw some more light on this in detailed manner. That's what we are doing here. Now, enable termination in production. Guys, even if you can, if you feel that we have already seen the particular EC2 machine creation yesterday itself, and this seems to be boring, then this is going to be really interesting. Why it is so? Yesterday we skipped a couple of options, but right now we are going to discuss each and every component. So the particular use case of production environment are whenever we create EC2 machine, so we have to enable this particular option. Why it is so? if there is an administrator, a person can ask during interview that why do we enable this protect against accidental termination setting enable. So guys, we need to understand, let us say there is a new person joined in your organization and you have assigned that person a particular task to perform cleanup in your account. Cleanup in the sense like remove all the resources which are unused. Then in that case, what would happen? The person would start deleting the instances. And if the person is not very familiar with the infrastructure, and what happens? Person selected only one instance that is supposed to be deleted, but by mistake, or you can call that accidentally, the person have selected one more instance that is very critical and running into production. Person perform the deletion activity. What would happen? The server will get terminated for sure, because that is a particular admin who is going to perform that activity. But if this option is enabled, that instance will not be terminated. If that person knowingly disables the particular protect against accidental termination setting, only after that the person will be able to delete that instance. And guys, that cannot be considered as an accident. That is like that particular action is being performed knowingly. Are we clear with that?
Yes.
So for production environment, this option has to be enabled. Now monitoring, we discussed yesterday as well. So by default, AWS monitors the resources every 5 minutes. But if you really want to have detailed monitoring, that will be for 1 minute span. But obviously that will have some additional charges enabled. Now guys, what is tenancy? This is the question for you guys. What is tenancy? Is there anyone who can explain me that?
So here we get an option like shared or dedicated hardware.
What is the use cases here?
And suppose there is an organization which doesn't want to share the underlying hardware with any other organization, and they can opt the option of dedicated. And if suppose a startup company is there and they want to pay a less amount for the EC2 instance that they are launching, then they can opt for the shared tenancy.
All right. So obviously the particular charges would matter here. For example, you have a plan to create 20 EC2 machines, then why would you want that should be spread across the particular like physical servers, right? But what is disadvantage there if you opt for dedicated like instance, right? In that case, if let us say you have 20 dedicated instance and all the machines are running onto the same physical server, what if that physical server goes down? In that case, your infrastructure will go down. But if you are using shared one, so once you will reboot it, so obviously your instance will be migrated to some other physical hardware. Now guys, what is this credit specification? Yes guys, what is credit specification?
No idea about this.
Any other one who has any idea about it? Yogesh?
No, sir, no idea.
Anyone? Ayushi?
No idea, sir. Sorry.
Okay, not a problem. I'll explain that. Okay, so guys, there are some different type of machines available, like we have T2, T3, T4, C5, C4, C6, that sort of. So there are only T like instances which are of T family type, like T2, T3, T4. These instances comes with some specific credit limits. You can take example of some sort of credit card, such as that you are going to market, you have a limit of credit card up to 50,000 rupees, and you purchase very like 2 or 3 very big items. Let us say you purchase AC, cooler, or maybe a fridge. Limit is exhausted. Now what would happen? You will have to carry that credit card with you, but you shall not be able to use it anymore. Right, guys? Is that what happens? But what if there's a requirement that you need to use it some more? You will pay some additional charges to your bank. You will request them that please extend my limit maybe to up to 30% extra. You can charge me a couple of rupees for that, or like something, whatever you want, you can charge me. That will be based on the agreement, right? So in that case, the particular performance of that instance will be increased. So that sort of things happen with EC2 machine. Like if the particular credit limits are used, then in that case, you can add some extra credit limits to the particular EC2 machine, which are of T2, T3, T4 type of instances, and that will start working properly. If limit is exhausted and you are still running that particular instance, then the performance will definitely be degraded. Now, what is this option, guys? File system. So this is very new feature. I must not be calling it very new feature because it's been more than 6 months. This option is enabled over here. Now, what happens? Let us say we have a particular web server. Web server means like you can think of HTTPD, like Apache, Tomcat, maybe Nginx. That's what a web server you can think of. Now, there is a particular requirement that we want that there are some of the images which should be made available to each and every instance which is running as a web server. So what would happen, guys, if we talk about EC2 machine, so we cannot mount one volume onto multiple EC2 machine, right, guys? That is the basic theory of it. But when we want that this EC2 machine should be having the access to same images or same files which other resources have, what we are going to do, we will create one NFS. But rather than creating NFS server directly, nowadays AWS has launched, it's been more than 3 years, AWS has launched a service which is known as EFS, like Elastic File System. That is just like NFS, and by default, the particular size of that EFS volume is 8 exabyte. 8 EB. So guys, do we understand the particular units of data storage? Yes, guys, do we understand the unit of data storage? Like bit, what comes after bit?
Byte,
Then
KB, MB, GB,
TB.
then
hexabyte, petabyte,
then this is byte, kilobyte, megabyte, gigabyte, terabyte, petabyte, exabyte, yottabyte, zettabyte. These are the units of data storage. And I am 100% sure whosoever have seen the movie known as Rajnikant, Robot. What was the speed of Chinty? Chinty or Chitty, whatever that was. That robot speed. The
Terabyte.
Zettabyte.
okay, the particular
one terabyte.
speed was like terahertz, and the storage was zettabyte. So you have heard the particular term zettabyte earlier as well. That's why I thought of telling you. So let's go back to our EC2 machine wizard. So I guess the particular file system size here is 8 exabyte up to this much, like you can store like 24 or 1024 into 8 exabyte into 8 petabyte is the particular size, default size of this EBS volume for EFS volume. Okay, so now guys, only these options are left, and obviously these are for advanced user. Guys, what is this enclave? Yes, guys. See this. So what happens, guys, here is whenever we want, let us say we are working with any financial transaction system, or maybe like any company where multiple financial transactions takes place. Let us say you are working with some stock exchange, and you would not like to secure your data only with the help of your like default encryption. You would like to have an additional layer of security at the level of hypervisor itself in order to like secure the particular component. So the selected instance type does not support Nitro enclaves. AWS Nitro enclaves enables you to create isolated compute environments to further protect and securely process highly sensitive data within your Amazon EC2 instance. Are we clear with that? That why do we use EC2 enclave? To provide an additional layer of security when you are processing your data within any EC2 machine. Are we clear with that, guys?
Yes.
Okay. Now, what is metadata accessible? Sometime if you need to figure out the information of your EC2 machine that is available on a particular console from the same AWS account, you can enable or disable that, like what is EC2 machine, hardware size, instance ID, sort of information you can catch. You can catch with the metadata accessible option. This is the version 1 and version 2. If you define version 2, then obviously token will be required. Version 1 and version 2 token is going to be optional here. Right? Then after, if we talk about like metadata token response hope, so like from where, like from the same EC2 machine request should be sent, or like we can call it from maybe from some other subnets or maybe from some other VPC. That will be depending on a hope count, like how many hope means the particular gateways using which we enter into different network segment. Now allow tag metadata, guys, what is it? Yes, guys. What is metadata?
Metadata is basically data about it.
Allow tags in metadata. What does it mean? Yes, guys, come on. Ayush ma'am.
Metadata is basically information about the instance.
What role does this particular option play here? If you select enable, the instance will allow access to all of its instance tag from list of metadata. If you guys remember, earlier we were talking about, like yesterday we were talking about why do we have multiple tags associated with one EC2 machine, right guys? Like
Yes.
name, OS, environment, owner, software, that sort of, right?
Yes.
So if we enable this, so if someone is requesting the EC2 machine metadata, then it will display all the tags available. Moreover, if you talk about, like if you disable it, the instance will not allow to access it. Now restrict, like restrictions of for tags in instance metadata, you cannot use slash or reserved names or underscore index. These are the particular tags which you cannot also associate. Moreover, the instance name is a tag with the reserved key of name. Like if you are going to define this particular tag, you cannot use within your like additional tag section. Moreover, this n should be always in caps if you want to define some reserved like tag names or reserved name keys or like that sort of, its value must adhere to these restrictions. So like whatever are the values, let us say you cannot define any special character, the particular value should not exceed more than 255 character. So if we are going to perform that sort of information, we are going to do that, then obviously we can allow the particular tags for metadata, or if the option is there, we can disable it. By default, it is disabled for every production environment. Are we clear with that, guys? Guys, any questions so far? Guys, any
When we select CloudWatch, it automatically create a IAM role.
come again?
When we select a CloudWatch.
Okay. So by default, CloudWatch has a default read-only role to get the particular metrics of every single software or every single component which is being created inside your AWS account. Wherever monitoring can be possible, so AWS CloudWatch by default has that role. But yes, if we want to perform some additional task with the help of CloudWatch, then definitely one additional role will be required. I will tell you how. So now, guys, what is this? This is going to be optional. So this is user data. So guys, whenever we want, like whenever we are going to create a new server and we want that as and when we log into this particular server, so these are the particular following information should already be done. For example, you would like to create a user, maybe you would like to copy some data from some place to another. Maybe let us say you want to install any software, that sort of. So like what I'm going to write here is like sudo user add, let us say Lokendra. httpd minus y. Then after, let us say echo, and what I'm going to do here is, this is for testing user data. I will redirect it to /var /www/html /index.html, right? Then after sudo service httpd restart, sudo check config httpd on. So like whatever commands you want, like either you can write it as a text, or you can upload as a file, or you can input at base64 encoded method. So whatever you want, you can define it here. Now these commands will be executed once the machine will be ready to run. Are we clear with that, the particular use case of user data, guys?
Yes.
Okay.
Enclave, just one more time. Can you explain what is enclave and the metadata accessible?
So enclave means like, as you see the particular message that T2 Micro does not support enclave option. So there are some specific machines which supports like Nitro hypervisor. Nitro hypervisor is a special hypervisor which provides this facility that you can create another layer of security which is related to encryption for the machines where you would like to process some very critical and sensitive, maybe financial data related to health, or maybe any sort of other like computing you would like to process. You can create like you can enable enclave option there, but T2 Micro does not support that. There are like only couple of instances are there which are running with like Nitro hypervisor, then it is possible. Yes. Add storage. So yes, guys, this is also one very interesting thing. So usually people like to ask like, what are the particular type of volume do we have in AWS? Like type of volumes. Who will answer this question, guys? Very easy and very interesting question.
We have general purpose. We have provisioned IOPS. We have standard magnetic.
With use case. Ajay, with use case.
So throughput IOPS is basically when we require high performance.
Okay, what else?
It can store the instance data.
Okay, Ayushi will tell this.
So for normal dev workloads, we can go for GP2. Okay, if have like prod data for the SQL workload, then we'll go for IO1, that which is provision IOPS. And for normally big data log processing, which is not that much important, but the data is heavy, that time you can go for throughput HDD, which is that ST1, and like cold is magnetic.
Okay, how many types of volume do we have which are supported for root volume type? How many volume types are
We
there?
have three.
Which are those?
5
One is GP.
general
One is-
purpose, GP1, cold HDD, GP2.
Magnetic.
Wait. First of all, we have GP2, GP3, IO1, IO2, and standard. These are the 5 different type of EBS volumes which are available. And these volumes can be used to store an operating system on these. Wherein, if you talk about like additional volumes as EBS, over there you will see 2 more, like cold HDD and throughput optimized. Now, guys, is there anyone who can help me with understanding like what is IOPS and what is throughput? What is IOPS and what is throughput? Anyone?
IOPS means it's read-write operation.
Okay, and what is throughput?
Throughput. Not sure.
Okay, not a problem. Is there anyone? Okay, let me come on to it. See, what does it say? Baseline of 3 IOPS per GB with a minimum of 100 IOPS was stable up to 3000 IOPS. That is with GP2, right? If I select here GP3, then you will see something else here. Over here, you are going to get by default 3000 IOPS, right? With GP3, minimum 3000 IOPS you are going to get. Moreover, you are not only getting IOPS, but you are getting throughput as well. So guys, what is throughput here? So throughput is not like based on number of read write. IOPS means input output per second. Throughput means the total amount, like this is in MB. MB means the volume of data. For example, I want to read 500 MB per second. So what would I be looking for? Throughput or IOPS? I want to process 10 GB data per minute. So will I be looking for IOPS or throughput?
Throughput.
Yes, that way. Then after, if I talk about IO1, so over here, guys, we are going to get 500 IOPS. Moreover, we can increase it up to like whatever value. So the particular value is going to be like volumes greater than 32 requires a nitro instance. Like if you would like to go beyond 32,000 IOPS, like 32,000 IO per second. So in that case, you will have to change the instance type. If you want to learn more about nitro hypervisor type, so you can discuss that about here. That what are the nitro hypervisor type? What are the maximum limit of it? That right? These are the particular bare metal. These are the particular virtualized. These are the particular type of hypervisor which are supported by nitro. So let us go back over here. We are not going to define definite this much. Then after, if you want to talk about IO2, yes, please go ahead.
Can you please explain the difference between this IOPS and throughput?
Okay, so let us say you have a particular system where maybe multiple calls are coming, like multiple requests are coming to process your data. And the particular size of data is very, very small, maybe 10 KB, 20 KB, 50 KB maximum. So that sort of system would require require that sort of hard disk where IOPS are supported more, because number of requests are high, but the particular data volume is very low, but number of requests are like a lot of. Every single request is like processing only 50 KB. But let us say when we talk about, let us say you are working with MS SQL or maybe MySQL, there is a particular machine which is a slave, which is working as Microsoft like MySQL slave. In that case, there is a particular request coming in for select query. In that case, you need not to worry about number of requests, but every single request is processing at least 1 to 2 GB of data. In that case, IOPS does not matter. What would matter here is that is throughput, like how much data can be processed within a single second. Like it is 512 MB, it can be like 2 GB or like what.
Okay.
That will be in case of it is like a slave database, throughput, like throughput optimized are the particular best one here, like this, because over it is you are going to get like only throughput, not the particular IOPS. If you talk about cold HDD, it is going to provide less throughput here, but no IOPS. But if you talk about these, so these are going to provide you, like let us say if it is GP2, it is going to provide you only IOPS. If it is GP3, it is going to provide you IOPS plus throughput both. If it is IO1, it is going to only provide you IOPS, no throughput. If it is IO2, it is going to provide you only IO, no throughput. If it is like, okay, in this section, if it is cold HDD, it is going to provide you only throughput.
So basically,
like 500 MB per second per terabyte.
So I have one more question. Like in root volumes, we have basically three types of volumes only.
5.
So this GP2 and GP3, they are almost same.
No,
Doing the
no,
same
no,
purpose.
no, never.
I mean, there is a difference that in GP3 we are getting throughput as well, but in GP2 we are not getting throughput.
Yes.
But I mean, we can consider it as like we have instance types like T2 and T3. So
We
here also
cannot consider both as same. Why it is so? First, the very first thing here is we are getting higher throughput. We are getting higher IOPS. We are getting throughput as well along with the same volume type, and the particular instances are cheaper than that of GP2.
okay.
IO3, okay. Let me tell you use case. For example, if you are using 10 terabyte storage in your production environment, and let us say that you are paying maybe $2,000, right? If you change from GP2 to GP3, you will at least save $800 per month just by changing this type. Moreover, the performance of your hardware will be improvised. Why? So you are getting high throughput.
I think you didn't get me get my question. I'm just saying like general purpose SSD GP2 and GP3. They are I mean just like different flavors of general purpose only.
Yes, yes, yes. In that case, you are right.
So in that sense, I'm saying like we have three types of volumes, and
Yes.
for
Magnetic
general purpose
IO
and provision, yeah, for general and provision we have two flavors.
Yes, but we will have to understand this factor as well, my dear, that when we are working in production environment, and if someone is going to ask you anything related to this, we need to understand the particular specification of these volumes.
Correct.
That because see, Ajay, like anyone can ask you, like, okay, tell me one thing that why would I opt GP3? So what you will have to answer here is that not only IOPS, but we are
getting throughput as well.
Moreover, it is cheaper than like GP2.
But it is not showing any pricing model over here, like which one is cheaper, where we can get those details.
Okay, I'll tell you after some time. We will be discussing about like price calculator as well.
Okay.
Fine. So now I guess we are clear with this. Like what are all 7 type of EBS volume do we have? What is GP2? What is GP3? What is IO1, IO2? That sort of.
Yes.
Great. Let us move ahead. Now tag. Let us say Linux box. Whatever. I'm not going to add multiple tags here because we have already discussed the use case of tags. And guys, where these tags will be implemented onto the instance itself, the volume, and the particular network interface. All the 3 places this particular tag will be implemented. Let us say if you are working with any network interface, you shall be able to identify that on which particular machine this particular is associated. Security configuration, we have already discussed this. Once again, I'm going to open port as like, let us say I'm going to select an existing one. All traffic I'm going to select, because guys, you are never supposed to select this sort of security group here. Why it is so? Because whenever we are working with production environment, we are never supposed to open like this. Otherwise, this will become a security threat for you. We will have to open that way as we opened it yesterday, like this. Right, guys? But because my IP address may have been changed, so that is why I'm going to select this one, all traffic, but you are not supposed to. In production environment, we will have to be very, very specific while accessing or while opening any security port. Now, these are the particular details, guys. Whatever you have done so far, these particular options are available here. Okay, so let us see. What is the particular thing? Instance details.
So in security groups tab, we have to provide the subnet range, right?
Yes, we can provide subnet range. We can provide individual IP address. Moreover, when we will be discussing about infrastructure, architecture, and security, we will be verifying or we will be passing one security group as a reference for another.
Okay.
But for now, that is good enough. Because right now, if I tell that that we can pass one security group as a reference for another one, there will be sort of confusion that why would we do that when we know the IP address series? Then what is the use case of that? So I'll be telling the particular scenarios and the particular use cases that in which use case we need to pass the particular security group as a reference for another security group. So yes, guys, first of all, number of instance is going to be one network, this subnet, this EBS optimized, no monitoring, no. Why is saying monitoring? No, because it does not consider default monitoring as enabled. Termination protection, no. Shutdown behavior, stop. Hibernate, disabled. Capacity reservation, none. IAM role, no. John. Then after these are the particular, like affinity. Guys, what is this affinity? What is this affinity?
No idea.
Any other one? Shravani. Bharat. Ira. Ira. Are you there? Gabriel. Any idea about it? Pavan.
Is it a group of users?
Hello.
Yes, yes, please.
How do you see it?
Actually, what I have done here is I was just trying to minimize one application tray, and based on the particular feature of my Mac operating system, that has cancelled the particular speed. I'm going to once again create instance, no, not to worry. But over here this time I'm not going to explain anything. So it will take me only a couple of seconds to be on the same page where we were within last 1.5 hours. Yes, guys, we were here. I'm so sorry for that. Yes, guys, what is this? Okay, okay, let me tell
It's
you.
related to dedicated host.
Go ahead, go ahead.
Yeah, it's related to dedicated host. Like if you dedicate host will be selected, then it will be turned on.
Yes, you are right. So when
Yeah,
we are
it's
talking
like
about, yes, you are right.
same host.
So when we are talking about, let us say we have a dedicated host in a virtual machine and we want, let us say we have to reboot this machine, then this machine should be rebooted onto the same host where it was created earlier. That is known as affinity. Right, guys? Like otherwise, if you see like rest of options are the same, which we have already discussed. Then after we are going to launch it, I would assign the particular key which I created yesterday, AWS batch RSA. I will say that yes, I have access to this. Moreover, you can read the disclaimer over here. I acknowledge that I have access to the particular responding keys file, and that without this file, I won't be able to log into my instance. If I acknowledge this, I'll allow this, I'll hit launch. So guys, do you see any sort of difference like the particular way we create instance and the particular things which we are getting to know today?
For this instance, did you select that user data that you have covered or something like Apache server, all the details and creating users?
Yes, I missed that particular part because I wanted to create this instance quickly. So I have already explained the particular use case of that. So those commands would get executed at the time of instance creation.
So I have one question, like just few minutes back we were discussing like in security groups, we sometimes keep source as some other security group. So we do that normally in a VPC section when we want to communicate, make a communication from public instances to the private instances.
Yes, actually. So what happens in that particular case? Okay. We have ELB, like load balancer. We have web server and we have app server. I want, like this security group associated here. The name of security group is, let us say, ELBSG. Over here, port 80 and 443 are opened from 0.0.0.0/0, like for world. But when we talk about, we do not want to accept like any traffic from internal directly to these web servers. Over here, we are going to create like web SG. Over here, we will open port number 80 and 443 from this particular security group only. Like wherever this particular security group is associated, from those resources, allow traffic on port number 80 and 443 onto this web server. So these web servers will be accepting traffic from this load balancer only on port number 80 and 443. Same thing will go for app server. Let us say app servers are running on, let us say, port number 8888, any random number I would like to define here. And this should be accessible from web server security group. So this particular application server, let us say, why do I define like this security group as a reference? For now, this particular web server is like, number of these web servers are 2. These are running in auto scaling, right? Next day, the number of this web server will go from 2 to 5. So how would I be whitelisting the particular individual IP addresses of these web servers into this application server? So rather than defining individual IP addresses, right? So what would I do here is I would define the complete web servers which are associated with this web server security group under this auto scaling. Those web servers will automatically be whitelisted on this app server on port number 8888, where the particular resources are associated with web-SG security group. So this is how we use security group as a reference. Are we clear with that?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, great. Makes sense. Okay. So guys, now what we are going to do here is we are going to understand that this is the particular T2 micro instance, like this is description section of this. Okay. Okay, like over here, instance type is running, instance state is running, type is T2 micro, finding no recommendation. So guys, this is none. Why? Because there is a particular service on AWS available, which is known as like compute optimizer. If that particular option is enabled, only then the findings will appear here. Like this particular machine is over provisioned or overloaded, under provisioned, overloaded, that sort of options you will see here. This is the private IP and DNS name. This is private IP address. If you see here, so IP dash the particular IP address along with dash instead of dot, which I was telling you earlier. This is the particular DNS name. This is public IP address. This is public IP address. This is public DNS name. This is the particular region where the machine is created. This is security group. Like this is like AMI ID, Amazon machine image ID, which is used in order to create this subnet ID, Ethernet. If you want to know about the particular LAN card, then after key pair name, which is created here, what is my account ID when it is created. So these sort of options you can figure out here. This is the particular volume which is associated with this. Now guys, very, very interesting and important thing to know. So guys, usually people like to ask question like, what if my instance is stuck with status health check fail? What if my machine is stuck in status checks? What will you do in that case? So guys, there are two options available. First of all, this is for system status check, and this is for instance status check. So guys, if an instance itself is corrupted, or maybe that is stuck, or maybe you guys might have enabled some sort of firewall rule because of which that instance is not reachable. So that particular will appear here under this section, instance status check fail, right? In case if this check fails, you may need to reboot your instance or make modification to your operating system configuration. There is no other option because we do not have a physical console. Then after we talk about system status check failed, so over here, this check verifies that your instance is reachable. We test that we are able to get network packets to your instance. If this check fails, this may be an issue with the infrastructure hosting your instance, such as AWS power, network, software system. you may need to restart or replace the instance, wait for your system to resolve the issue, or seek technical support from AWS. So this particular is handled by AWS team, and you have only one option to reboot or restart your machine. This is handled by you, and this is like you need to reboot your machine. So end of the day, in both the cases, you guys can only reboot your machine, nothing else you cannot perform. Right, guys? Next thing is monitoring. So guys, when we talk about monitoring, so there is no alarm configured. So the particular option which I was telling
So,
you.
Kendra, I have one query. Like
Please
when,
go ahead.
when any of the status check fails, so normally guys just reboot the machine in order to fix that, right?
Yes.
Okay, so there is no other alternate.
Yes, because we see, like there could have been an alternative option, because if we might have any sort of physical console available and like should be accessible from our web browser, but we do not have access to any physical console. That is why there is only one option left.
Okay.
We can only reboot it, nothing else. Okay. Now let us go ahead. We talk about monitoring section. So we will create alarm here. So guys, see, take action. If I click on take action, so what it will do, like it will take about like reboot. It will talk about like stop instance. It will talk about terminate or reboot the instance. Recover, stop, terminate, and reboot. Right. Then after alarm name, if I create this particular alarm, so it will by default ask me like where to send the notification about this, that sort of. So I can create an alarm here. Now it will show that one alarm is created here. So in order to create this alarm, there is already a rule associated with this, that this particular CloudWatch will be allowed to reboot this instance if this is stuck with any status check alarm. Guys, this is also one interview question, like what will you do if your instance is stuck in like any of the status check alarm? So what will you do here, guys? You will define like maybe CPU, or maybe like status check, if you can define here, maybe any you can define here. If it is failing for at least two consecutive period of 1 minute, you will take action, you will do reboot instance. Or for example, like if that is part of your auto scaling group, you will hit terminate and you will click create alarm. That is it.
So I have one question.
Please go ahead.
While creating the alarm, we were getting like 1 minute option in CloudWatch, right?
Right.
CloudWatch alarm. So normally we didn't enable detailed monitoring. Then how it was showing like if status check failed for 1 minute.
Okay. So by default, what is it? CPU.
Earlier we opted for that status check any.
Okay.
Yeah.
It is showing 1 minute. And
Yeah.
what is the particular whenever a status check failed? Because over here, AWS considers that it may be a particular fault at their end as well.
Okay.
But if it is CPU, let us say, it will not be less than 5 minutes.
Okay.
Getting point? So wherever
Yes,
AWS feels that it may be an issue at their end as well, that is why they are providing some relaxation to their customers. CPU credit balance low, 5 minutes, not less than that. If it is, let us say, network out, 5 minutes, not less than that. Only in case of system which is status check failed, only 1 minute. Because
okay.
over here, AWS considers that it may be a problem at their end as well. So why would they penalize their customers for that? Are we clear with that thing, guys?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Finally, the particular tags, you can add more tags here if you want. Like this. Now, actions. So guys, these are really interesting thing to know. First of all, okay, let us try to connect. We will hit here, connect. Now, one person can ask during interview, like what are the particular options do we have to connect to an EC2 machine? So guys, these are the particular options. Either we can connect with the SSH client, like it could be PuTTY, it could be a Git bash, it could be Linux terminal, it could be Mac terminal, like session manager. So guys, session manager is one more feature which provides you to log into your machine with the help of some browser. Maybe EC2 instance connect. browser-based SSH connection. If you hit connect here, so guys, obviously, this will provide you some sort of information. These are the latest feature available. Either your instance is just created, or you will have to wait for some time. You will have to wait for a few minutes in order to log in via browser. So I guess we are clear with that thing, guys.
Sir, if SSH is not configured, how to log in the particular instance?
So by default, it will allow you going forward. It will ask you to provide your keys and it will allow you to log in. So now, guys, I am going to log into this machine. Now, from here, this is the particular task of Linux administrator. Whatever you want, for example, like you want to install something in yum. Whatever you want, you will be allowed to install here. Now, guys, from here, this is the particular task of Linux administrator. If you are working at Linux as well as AWS, then definitely you will be performing these things. Otherwise, ideally, this is supposed to be task of Linux administrator. So I guess we are good, guys, for today. Any questions so far, if you have?
Yeah, I have one question. Like now we created the instance, is it possible to change the user data? What are the details you have given? So can you change it now?
Yes, we can change, but in order to change user data, you will have to stop this machine like this. You will have to click. You will go instance state. You will go to stop instance. You will hit here. You will have to wait till the time machine gets stopped. If you stop, the public IP address will get changed for sure.
So will update here means it will update.
So user data is used just like you are entering anything within your rc.local file. One time executable. Now you will go, you will check over here, you will modify user data. Now this will allow, let us say, you can define here like whatever, let us say bin plus bash user add Lokendra. Over here, you can define anything else. Let us say sudo user.
Yeah, index HTML just add some comments.
Pardon?
No, in index.html add some comments so that we can check in the browser it affected.
Yes. But keep this thing in mind. If the machine is running, you shall not be able to you should not be able to update user data section. This is only possible if the machine is stopped, because it gets executed only once at the time of machine startup.
Okay, so after that we cannot modify it, because one time I tried, it was not working. So
once the machine will get started, only then user data will come into picture. Otherwise, not. Because you cannot modify user data with a running instance.
Yeah, I'll try this one. After stopping it, I'll modify it. And
yeah, please. That will be good. So over
okay,
here,
one more like every interview they're asking the security group why it is stateful and initial stateless. That is like the basic question, but every interview they're asking it. It's possible like you give some idea on that.
Samir, your voice is a little low. I'm sorry to say.
Okay, is it clear now?
Yes, louder and clear. Yes.
Okay, I'm saying like every interview they're asking the security group why it is stateless, no stateful and initially stateless. That is the basic question, and every interview they asked it. So if I can give in some details on we know the theory, but in real like, while doing practical, that's some it is like not understandable how it is working in the background.
There is a particular blog. There was a particular like WordPress website over there. I read about it. Even over here, like same thing is copied and pasted. Yes, you can check it out here. I have shared the particular stuff over there. So what are the differences here we can figure out? What are the use cases? Everything, differences.
Okay, but this thing is not working. So, as I say, like if you are in security group open any port, it will automatically inbound outbound it will open. But NSL you have to open manually both to both.
Yes.
But actually that doesn't work when I have tested it because maybe I'm not getting the clarity on that. If you could explain it, then it will be better.
So, like, what exactly you are trying to know? Because these are the major differences here.
No, not difference. I want like the main thing is that when security group any port were allowed like opening, so we no need to open it for both like inbound and outbound.
No.
Inbound, if you
It
open
is not
means-
like that. Wait. In that case, I got your question.
Okay. Like what?
See here. It is talking about it add. See the particular requirement here. Why we not add outbound rules? Because by default, security group allows all outbound traffic. See, if you see, I have not added this particular rule, right?
Okay.
If I delete this rule, then you will have to explicitly add both the rules here. Let us say if you're going to allow SSH to public from maybe anywhere IPv4 or whatever, in that case, you will have to add a rule here wherein you will be allowing SSH to anywhere on IPv4. For example, if you add a particular rule here for HTTP, right, from public, then you will have to add that rule here as well. But what happens here is by default, whenever you try to create a security group, by default, security group whitelist everything for outgoing. That is why it is said that we do not have to whitelist anything because it is already whitelisted.
NSL also the same thing. If by default NSL also it will allow all the traffic.
Yes, NSL also allows by default because see, NSC, whether it is NSCL or whether it is a security group, so AWS considers that the particular user who are going to come onto our platform, they do not have expertise onto network segment. That is why they whitelist everything like for them.
Then what is the difference between stateful and stateless? You know, right? Whenever it comes to security group NSL, they say like it is stateful and stateless.
Yes.
Stateful is a security group and stateless is NSL.
Okay, so let me tell you what is stateful versus stateless. So let us say whenever we are talking about a request type. So for example, if it needs to get connected with database and we need to return the particular response on the same request ID or with the same request ID, that is known as stateful. It means if that particular connection is broken, then user will have to initiate new connection in order to like provide its complete detail in order to fetch the data. But let us say if it is a web server, right? And that is displaying like only web content that does not have anything to do with your like backend server, right? If connection breaks and user refreshes the browser, then once again user will be landing on the same page because it does not have anything to do with databases. So wherever you need to get a connection with database, that becomes stateful. Otherwise, it is stateless. Right, guys?
Okay, still I didn't get clarity. Maybe we'll talk in next class.
Not a problem.
I'll go through this document.
Yeah, please. So guys, these were the demo sessions. I'm going to upload it to YouTube, and from next week onwards, all the only registered candidates will be joining these sessions, and I hope to see you all. Right, guys? If you have any sort of question, you can call me on my personal number. I'll be there to help. Right, guys? Have a good time and happy learning.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for being part of it.
Thank you.
Bye. Have a good time.
You too. Thank you.
Bye. Bye-bye.